Hello, soulmates. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Blessing Ebietoma, and in today's video, I'll be teaching you how to make this beautiful dress. If this is something you are interested in, keep watching. You will need at least 2 yards of plain crepe fabric and 2 yards of any colorful fabric of your choice. I used vintage fabric for the down part of this dress, and this tutorial is going to be the cutting part of this dress. The next video I'll be uploading will be the sewing part. I've gone ahead to draw out my straight line. I drew out my starting line, bust points, under bust and waistline. The next thing that I will do is to determine the neckline. This is so I'll be able to draft the armhole, and then I'll take the shoulder measurement of my client. You go ahead to take your shoulder measurement, so you come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope, and then you will connect it to your neckline. The next thing that we need to do is to determine the armhole depth. To get your armhole depth, you divide your bust measurement by 6 plus 1.5. So you put whatever you get. So the next thing I will do again is to mark out my client's shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 15, so 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So what I am doing now is I am marking the armhole depth I'm working with is 7 inches plus the shoulder slope, which is 8 inches. I'm marking points around so I can draw a straight line, and that line I will label it chest line. So the next thing that we want to do now is to actually draw our armhole. So I'm connecting the points, the shoulder measurements I marked, and I'm connecting it to my shoulder slope. So to get your perfect armhole curve, the next thing you will do first of all is to take your bust measurement, and then you will divide your armhole circumference by 2, your armhole depth by 2. You get the midpoint and you go in by 1/2 inch. And then you will connect the 3 points together: your bust circumference, the midpoint, and then the upper part. So the next thing that I will be doing now is to mark my bust palm. It's also called nipple to nipple measurement. You mark your nipple to nipple measurement. The one I am working with is 8, so I'm just marking 4 inch. And then I'm going to draw a straight line all the way from the bust point to the waist. So the next thing that I will be doing now is to take out my darts, 1/2 inch on both sides, and I will connect it to the bust point. And then you will divide your shoulder, whatever you have, you divide it into 2, and then you connect it to the bust point, just like so. After connecting it to the bust point, the next thing that you will determine is your neck depth. I didn't want to use 7, 8, so I had to come up by 1 inch. So the neck depth you are working with is 7. This depends on your preference, depends on how much cleavage you want to show. So I have marked out the other place now, chest line, because that will be my chest line. The next thing now we'll be doing is to determine the under bust tightening. because this dress I am making, I'm not going to pad it. I want it to look like the one we are recreating. I want it to look like the one we are recreating, so we won't be using breast pad. So I'm using half inch for the under bust tightening. If you are busty, you might want to use 1.5 inch or even 2. But if you are the same size with my clients, you might want to use just half inch for the under bust tightening. So you would take half inch outside that leg. Then I'm coming up by 1 inch from the bust point. Then I will connect it from up. Remember, I used half inch for the neck tightening too. I'm using half inch for the under bust tightening. That is 1 inch, half inch ish, because I'm not using breast pad. So I don't want it to be too curvy. I want it to be as simple as possible, just like the style we are trying to recreate. The next thing, I marked the bust measurement, and this half inch there, I'm going to replace this before adding 1.5 inch seam allowance. So you go ahead to do the same thing, and then you take your under bust measurement, and then you are going to take this line downwards so we can be able to get the accurate measurement. Just watch what I'm doing. So now we are going to measure the darts. I start marking our bust circumference. We'll measure the darts, replace the darts. We have about 2 inches darts, and then we put the seam allowance 1.5 inch. The same thing, measure the darts, replace it, and then you add your allowance. So now you are going to connect the sides. The front half length and the back half length of this dress are not the same. For the front half length, we are using 16.5, and the back half length we are using 15. That is because our front and our back, they are not the same. So if you are making this style, go ahead to measure your front half length and then measure your back half length. So we'll be taking side darts, we'll be minusing the excess from the side. So 16.5 minus 15, we have 1.5 inches extra. So we'll be using that 1.5 inch now to take our side dart. So you come down from your bust point, from your bust point line, you come down by 1.5, and then you connect it to that part. As you can see, I'm using 1.5, then I'm going to connect it back to the bust point. So you go ahead to measure your back half length and measure your front half length. If your half length is 16.5, you can go ahead to use 15, or just look for someone to measure you. And then you go ahead to connect the armhole to the bustier, just like so. This is to eliminate the sharp edge when we finally cut the pattern. Please pay attention to where the parts that I am cutting. So I'm going to cut to the bust point, then I'm going to close the dart. Make sure it's sitting very well before I'll go ahead to continue cutting the pattern. So our pattern is ready, the front pattern is ready. Now I'm marking my zipper allowance. I'm using 1.5 inches zipper allowance. Then I'm marking a starting line. So now we are going to be using the front pattern to cut the back pattern. But before then, I'm marking the half length of the back. Remember, we came down by 7 inches when we were cutting the front pattern. So you just go ahead to come down by 7 inch. If you are not sure how many is the half length for the back, the half length of the back is 15 inches. So I just took away 7 inches, then I'm marking the 15 inches. So I'll draw a straight line across. Now I am placing the front on top of each other. The only part that is going to be on top of each other is the cup part, but the sides must be placed, they must be aligned. So you use it to cut the back pattern. This way you don't have to take darts because you have cut out the darts. So I'm just cutting out the starting line, and I drew a 1-inch line. But what I'm trying to do is to eliminate that sharp edge because our dress does not have a sleeve. So I'm just eliminating the sharp edge. I'm just blending it in. So I'll be cutting out this sharp edge because we are making a tube dress. So now the next thing that I'm doing now is to cut the skirt part of this dress. I'm using my client's hip line. Our hip line is 9-inch. So you come down by 9-inch, and then you take a straight line across from that 9-inch. So now the next thing that you will do, you are going to mark your waist measurements plus your seam allowance 1.5 inch. Then you mark your hip measurements and your seam allowance. Then you connect both points together. If you paid attention to the style we are trying to recreate, the front has a different shape and the back has a different shape. Now the next thing that I'll do, I will come down by 4-inch, and then I'm going to be marking that 4-inch point because that's where I'll be connecting my curve. This is the front pattern the skirt part of the front. So it has a curve. So this is the front pattern. I'll be using the front pattern to cut the back pattern. That's why I won't be cutting out the curve yet. So now I'm not cutting this one in a fold, but when you are transferring this pattern, please cut in a fold. I don't have extra paper, that's why I'm not cutting this in a fold. I'm drawing my zipper allowance. Please also, your zipper allowance should be uniform. I used 1.5 inch for the upper part of this pattern, so I'm using 1.5 inch zipper allowance again for the skirt parts. Then I'm coming down by 9-inch again. I'll draw a straight line across, then I'll be placing the front pattern on the back. So now I'll go ahead to cut out the different shapes of the front and back. Before then, I'll still come down by 4-inch, mark the point, and then I'm going to be drawing the V. The back has a V slant while the front has a curvy slant. So I'm going ahead now to cut the back pattern, and then I'll cut out the front pattern also. But since these two has different shapes, the sides will not be equal. Can you see? It's not equal. So what you have to do now is to curve the front. The front has a curvy, so I'm curving the front, making sure that both sides, the short parts, they are equal. So when you shape it, it's going to be balanced. This is the outcome of the dress on my client. She was so happy when she came for fitting. If you found this video useful, please do well to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn your notifications so you'll be the first to get notified when I upload the second part of this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.